I wanted to share these stories with you to let you know that your unborn children, they can connect with you. You can connect with them. Whether you choose to actually welcome them in the end or not, whether you choose to become a parent or not, you can connect with your children in spirit. Welcome to the Seeing in the Dark podcast, the podcast for the women of the ancient futures, women that see beyond eyes and know beyond mind and are here to make a change from a deep communion with the mystery of life. Seeing in the Dark is about walking paths that have not been walked before and daring to show up for the mission and dream life that is knocking on your door. My name is Nicole Nyima Costerus, mystic, medium, initiated priestess, and here to take you into the mysteries of purpose, power, ritual, and intuition. May you embody your own unique essence so deeply that your vibration naturally teaches, inspires, and assists others. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. I am super excited to come back to the podcast. I mean, you have been hearing episodes with me over the last few weeks, even over the last 2 months or so. But those were old recordings being brought to the podcast because I was on maternity leave. I was on maternity leave and gave birth to our beautiful daughter, Shade Rue. And she is today almost, at this moment of recording, almost 8 weeks old already. It's crazy how fast this goes. Like, I remember during the pregnancy and right after the birth, everybody would just say to me, enjoy because it goes really, really fast. And now I can see in these first almost 2 months how incredibly fast things go with a little baby. So the last almost 8 weeks have been very beautiful, intense, like a magical time of getting to know our daughter, of healing my body, of resting on this couch here. Like normally you'll see me sit in a different place in the house, but today I was like, okay, I'll just sit where I have been sitting for the last 8 weeks on this couch. Yeah, there has been a really big process of healing my body in this postpartum time. I will share a lot more about that as well. And I mainly decided to share about the different stages of my life over the last years, I would say even. So there's a few topics that I want to bring onto the podcast for you because I believe it touches upon the things I normally speak about, which is intuition, which is ritual, which is ceremony, mediumship, psychic abilities, and purpose. And one of the things that Sade has invited me into is to stand up and come out even more with mediumship and intuition and ritual. I think it's also connected to the way she came in to our lives during my pregnancy. I think I was 4 weeks pregnant with her or 5 weeks. I just found out that I was pregnant and I was in a dark feminine temple here with, I think we were 70 women all together here in Amsterdam in the big cathedral. And during the dark feminine temple, I just felt her energy like activating very strongly. And from that moment, I knew that she has a deep connection to temple, to ceremony, to ritual. I have no idea how, to what extent that will come to expression in her life, but during the pregnancy, I've been feeling her very, very strongly in that. And that was not the only moment. She was also in my womb during my priestess initiation as a voodoo priestess in West Africa, Benin, last September or September, when I was there. And she had her first ceremonies and her first oracle readings when she was in my womb. So this is how she came in. I mean, there is so much to share about the way she was born and about the whole conception process, about even the decision of whether to become parents, yes or no. This was not a given for me. Like, I wasn't sure about that for many, many years. Do I actually want children? So, over the coming weeks, maybe months, I will drop in episodes around these topics. I will bring on my partner also. We will share about how did we actually become clear about whether to have kids, yes or no. How do you know if your yes is coming from the deep soulful place, or if your no is coming from fear, or if your no is coming from a deep soulful place? And This is an episode that we will share about how we came to the clarity of a yes of welcoming a child into our lives. Then we had not a short process of the actual welcoming of her. So we had a process of trying to become pregnant of 1.5 years. And we bumped into many beautiful and challenging things in that process as well. So we want to share about that. There will be an episode about that. I will, of course, share an episode about my birth story, which has been an incredible home birth, water birth. And Sade was actually born partly with the membrane still intact. So they call it here born with the helmet in the Netherlands. They say that these kids are really psychic. So there's many signs, many signs throughout the pregnancy and the birth and even after the birth that show that Sade is a soul deeply connected to her intuition as well. And I think it's one of the reasons why I feel extra invited to fully step into my gifts there. And I can see how I've still been hiding parts of the greatness of my mediumship, how I've still been hiding parts of me fully coming out as a voodoo priestess. So all of that and more in the upcoming weeks, months, years on the podcast and in my work with Women of Ancient Futures. But first of all, today, I want to share with you, or maybe I need to share with you also how I'm doing a little bit, right? You haven't been hearing much from me during the first 40 days after giving birth because I was really in my bubble. I didn't really feel like going on social media a lot. Also, the first 2.5 weeks after birth, I couldn't walk well and I was just resting and spending time with Sade and landing as a family with the three of us. But at this moment of recording, I must say that I'm actually doing pretty well. My body has been healing amazingly, and I will share more about the ceremonies and rituals and the treatments that I've been doing to make sure that my body could heal this quick, actually, and this beautifully. So I am doing well. Of course, I have the days where I feel exhausted, where I feel very tired, where I feel overwhelmed. But I think that's part of it, right? It's also part of like getting used to this life where suddenly it's the three of us. Suddenly there's this beautiful little girl that is constantly with me and trying to find our rhythm together. So that's in short. And like I said, I will share much more into detail in upcoming episodes. But today, I really want to share with you about psychic connection with unborn children. The reason I want to share with you about this is because my connection with Sade was already there, I would say around 5.5 years before her actual moment of birth. So for 5.5 years, not constantly, but I had a few big moments during those 5.5 years where I could feel her, where I could feel her soul very, very clearly in spirit. And I want to talk about this today because I think that when it comes to connecting with loved ones in spirit that have been passed on, like a grandfather that has been passed on into spirit, or a mother, or a father, or a friend, is much more talked about and much more taught in teachings or in schools than with unborn children. And I really want to talk about it because it has brought me so much to be in connection with Sade for those 5.5 years before she was born. And I'm still amazed that she, even though I know time and space works differently in the spirit world, I'm still so amazed that she had the patience to wait for 5.5 years minus 9 months to come into my womb and to like come into our life and choose us as her parents. Because I do believe that that is a choice. Maybe it's not a conscious choice of, hey, I'm picking you, but I do believe that it's a frequency match that has been made. So there, 5.5 years before I held her physically in my arms, I was already in connection with our daughter, Sade. Now, I want to share a little bit about that. Also, so you open your mind and your heart for the possibilities that are there in your intuition. And maybe you have had an experience of this and it can be a confirmation. Because one of the things I come across as a teacher of mediumship as well is we have gatekeepers between the gifts of our mediumship, our psychic abilities, and our intuition. And those are fear, doubt, and overwhelm. Like, fear of the unknown. Like, what am I feeling here? What are these spirits I'm sensing or energies I'm aware of? Doubting that whatever you're feeling right now, am I making that up? or is it really happening? Overwhelm, because we can be so sensitive that we pick up on so many things at the same time that we feel overwhelmed by the things that we are sensing. So may this episode help you to be either a connection to whatever is possible for you with the power of your intuition, but also may it be a confirmation for if you have been sensing things through your psychic abilities or through your mediumship and you're not sure whether you can trust it or not. Deciding to trust is the first important step when it comes to developing and expanding your psychic abilities and mediumship. Because if you don't start with a big permission to trust whatever you are sensing, it's very difficult for the channel of your intuition to open. So, trusting and deciding to trust is the first step to developing and crystallizing more of the potential that lies in your psychic abilities and mediumship. Now, let me start with sharing a bit about 5.5 years ago and how I came to meet Sade in the spirit world or in the realm where the unborn children are. And that might be a first question, right? Like, is the spirit world where my loved ones in spirit, like my grandfather or my grandmother or my uncle or my aunt, is that the same world where the unborn souls are in as well? My most honest answer is I don't know. But I do know that the way that Sade was communicating with me from spirit is very similar or exactly the same as when a loved one from spirit come close to me when I work as a medium in front of an audience, or when one of my own loved ones in spirit comes close to me to communicate with me. The way of communication, same. The way I perceive them is the same. So 5.5 years ago, I was traveling in Brazil. I was traveling in Brazil, touring around, and I arrived at John of God. And John of God is a healer who lives and is based in Abadiânia, Brazil. I think it's about a few years ago where he came into the news with like a big abuse scandal. I was there before that whole story. So when I was there, it was actually the way I experienced it, a very powerful healing place because John of God has a healing center where there are not physical doctors working, but there are spirit doctors working, meaning doctors in spirit come there to heal people in the physical. And this has been a really powerful healing experience for me. I received multiple spirit surgeries there, meaning you go into a big space and the spirits are in that space to do healing work on your body or surgery work on your body. And I received a big healing surgery in my womb in that center. And I remember that after that surgery, you had to be in the bed for 24 hours. And during those 24 hours, I remember waking up, feeling the spirits enter into my room to undo the stitches that I received during my spirit surgery. So this is not a physical surgery where they cut in you physically like a normal surgery, but it's a spirit surgery where they work in deep, deep energy healing work on your body. So I spent there 2 times 1 month because I loved so much the clarity with which I could hear and feel spirit there. I remember there were sessions, meditation sessions we would have there, where I could literally hear the spirits speak into my ear, which is normally not the case. When I hear the spirits speak to me, it's normally through my psychic senses. So I feel a sensation in my body, or I see a picture in my mind, or I hear maybe a word, but rarely will I hear them speak to me like you hear me speak to you right now. But in that time with John of God in the healing center, I did. I could hear the spirits speak to me literally, and they were so spot on and precise. That's a whole other episode that I can share much more about. You can check out John of God. I know Oprah Winfrey has been in his healing center also. So if you are curious about him, I don't know if I necessarily recommend his center anymore due to the scandal that has been happening. And I don't know. I didn't really dive into the details of that. If you're curious about his healing work, you can check out John of God, Oprah Winfrey, and you will see like a small documentary about it. All right. So I was spending my second month with John of God. I was doing a house sit. I was watching 5 dogs. And every day I would go to the healing center to join the prayers and the meditations, the surgeries. I think I had like 3 or 4 surgeries during my 2 times there. And I hear my daughter cry now. Good practice for me. This is my first thing coming back into work. So it's a good practice for me to work from home while my daughter is at home as well. So it was my second month with John of God. And during one of the meditation sessions was also the first time where I came into contact with Sade, our daughter. And before I arrived at John of God, I was together with a holiday fling. Let's call it like that. I met a man and we had a really beautiful time together. When I was with John of God, suddenly my period was late. My blood didn't come, and it was like, I think it was like 5 days over time. And I was like, holy shit, maybe I'm pregnant. Maybe something happened and I'm pregnant now. And I got really scared because I was like, okay, that was not a relationship. That was a holiday fling. Well, what should I do? And when I was sitting in the meditation session, I remember suddenly I felt this female spirit next to me. And a voice said, you are not pregnant. It's not your time. It's not my time yet. She told me that my blood would come on Friday. And I remember it was a Tuesday. She said, it's not my time yet. I will come later. Your blood will come on Friday. And I was like meeting my gatekeepers of doubt, being like, am I making this up now? What do you mean Friday? That's very specific. And so I let go of that experience. And that Friday, my blood actually came, my menstruation came, and I was not pregnant. So that was the first meeting with Sade. The first meeting where she came through super clear, where she let me know I will come, but it's not my time yet. And it was a few months later that I met my current partner, Nyima. And we will share more about that whole process. But the first time we met, we already felt this is going to be the father of my children. He felt this is going to be the mother of my children. We didn't tell each other because we were like, okay, this is the first time I meet this guy. I'm not going to say, hey, I think you're the father of my child. But we both did in that first moment. And we will expand on that in our conscious conception episode, or maybe in our episode on how we became clear on yes or no on kids. But after that first moment of meeting Sade, I didn't feel her for quite a few years, actually. The next big moment that I felt her was in 2022 when I was in a 5-day dark retreat. Now, I will link below this episode, my episode of 12 Days and Night in Complete Darkness, where you can hear more about my dark retreats. I spent a total of 26 days in complete darkness, spread out over 4 retreats. A dark retreat is basically what you do is you retreat by yourself in a room that is completely dark. When you wave your hands in front of your eyes, you don't see it. It's pitch black dark in this room. I had a toilet, a shower, a bed, my yoga mat, and some things that I share more about in that episode that I will link below if you want to know more about it. I would say it's my favorite way to come really home to me. It's my favorite way to connect to spirit, to connect to visions, to connect to whatever wants to happen for my next stage of growth and for the next deepening in myself. I would say the dark is my biggest teacher. And I learned so much and unlearned so much during my 26 days in complete darkness. But it was my third or my fourth dark retreat in Mexico, Mazunte, Mexico, in the Arigalan Hotel, where I spent 5 days synchronized with my best friend, one of my best friends, and she was in another room for 5 days. I was in a room for 5 days, and it was really beautiful. And I remember close to the end, maybe it was day 3 or day 4, where suddenly I felt Sade again, very strong. And the beautiful thing about dark retreats is after 3 days, your body starts to produce DMT. So it's a very similar experience to an ayahuasca journey, just I would say a lighter version of that. So there's no vomiting, there's no I mean there has been intense visions and moments actually, but it's I would say a lighter, more gentle, softer experience of the DMT. So Sade came in again. And this time she showed herself as an adult woman. And in 2022, around that time, we were already clear, yes, we are a yes for children. We didn't start welcoming actively yet. So we didn't like track my ovulation yet, or we didn't actively welcome her yet. But there she was. I remember waking up and I felt her as an adult woman. And I saw myself as an older woman. And it was I remember my heart opening. I remember crying a lot because I could feel the depth of our friendship, the depth of our friendship between her as an adult woman and me as an elderly woman. In that conversation with her, she shared about her character. She shared about her qualities. She shared about her challenges also that she would have in this lifetime. Now, I didn't have a chance yet because she's only 8 weeks old. So I don't know all the things that she shared with me then, if they're actually true with who she will become in this lifetime. But it was another very powerful meeting where I was in touch with her and where she showed me visions of our life together. So it was another confirmation that she would come into this life and that I would have a daughter. Now, it still would take a year, 2 years actually, until I would hold her in my arms. But these were two examples of how I met her psychically, mediumistically, in spirit, before I actually held her in my arms physically. Now, there have been many other contact moments during the pregnancy, but I will share about that in my birth story episodes. I wanted to share these stories with you to let you know that your unborn children, they can connect with you. You can connect with them. Whether you choose to actually welcome them in the end or not, whether you choose to become a parent or not, you can connect with your children in spirit. You can get to know them. You can get to know their characteristics. You can get to know the qualities in their essence. You can get to know the challenges that they're having or the growth that they want to go through as a soul. And for me, it has been such a beautiful way to get to know her soul even before I could hold her in my arms physically. So I just gonna grab my notes here for a second because my brain is still on postpartum mode, so it doesn't work the way it normally works. Yeah. One thing that I want to share with you is that I will be coming back to in-person teaching. I will, of course, continue with my year training, Mystic Medium, which is a year training into your psychic abilities, mediumship, ritual, ceremony, and dream translation. It's a year training in which you will learn how to offer psychic readings, how to connect with loved ones in spirit, how to create rituals and ceremonies for deep transformation, and how to work with the oracle messages of your dreams. And it's specifically a really powerful training if you want to work with psychic readings, ritual and ceremony, or dream translation in your work as a coach, a bodyworker, a healer, a creative, or any type of work like that. But also we have women in the year training that are employed in a job and they still would like to develop their psychic abilities, their mediumship for themselves as well. The waitlist is open for Mystic Medium 2024-2025. And I am also really excited to announce that I will come back to in-person teaching. So Mystic Medium Year Training 2024-2025 will have two groups. One online group, if you are not in the Netherlands or you prefer to study with me online, and an in-person group in the area of Amsterdam where you have a chance to study with me for 1 year in person. I'm so excited about that. I brought it back because I really missed the in-person teaching. And I was like, let's make a beautiful combination. Let's welcome a group in person that we can go really deep with for a whole year. And also, I can leave the house once a month and give Shade to my partner and be in temple space together. Yeah, so Mystic Medium Year Training 2024-2025 with an early start in September and an official start in November. You can read all about it on the page. Waitlist is open now. and registration will also open soon. So sign up for the waiting list if you're interested and you want to be the first one to know when the registration is open. I'm super happy to be back, you guys. I cannot wait to bring more of all the things that are wanting to pour out of me. And I send you much love and see you next week. Bye. Did you receive any inspiration, motivation, or powerful breakthroughs by listening to this episode? Then please share this episode by taking a screenshot and tagging me in your stories at nicole.nyima.costerus. I would love to celebrate you, share you in my stories, and it would mean so much to have my work reach more powerful, passionate women like you. Thank you so much and looking forward to see you next week.